Hello, and welcome to the Paid Off Project, where I'm trying different side hustles to see if I can pay down the remainder of my student loans just a little faster. So, over the past few months, I've been focused on reselling on eBay and Poshmark. I recently decided that I'm going to take the jump and also start selling on Etsy. It was a somewhat challenging decision for me because of the fees associated with Etsy, but I thought I would talk through why my informed guess, I guess, my informed decision to start cross-listing a little on Etsy, why I made that decision, the fees associated with Etsy, and then go through a few of the items from my eBay account that I'm planning to cross-list on Etsy to give you a sense of what my strategy is. And then this is real time, so I cannot guarantee this is what's going to work out. But I feel good going into this, adding Etsy into my reselling repertoire, I suppose. So let's get into it. First off, via Google, here is a little bit of a comparison of the two platforms. eBay skews more male, Etsy skews more female. Etsy skews a bit younger and eBay skews a bit older. I'm not sure why I thought Etsy would skew older. I think maybe because of personalized gifts are a big thing on there, right? Like getting a wooden block engraved for a child and just gift items with personalization. And I think in my mind I think of my mom and that she's used it for that. But anyway, overall Etsy tends to skew a bit younger, eBay a bit older. Fees, this is the big thing that deterred me from cross listing on Etsy for a while. eBay, I can list 250 items a month free. You pay an insertion or maybe there's different language fee if it sells, but because this is a side hustle, I don't want to put up more money than I have to, especially when I was just getting started with not knowing what types of items are going to sell. It was nice to be able to experiment, and I'm continuing to do that without the cost of putting up money. Etsy, the insertion fees, so the fee for every item you list is 20 cents per item for every 4 months. So we'll call it about 60 cents a year. But they have added at some point between when I had an old Etsy seller account years ago to now a one-time startup fee that ranges from $15 to $29 that is to authenticate the seller, allegedly. No idea how they figure out who has what fee. Mine that was quoted to me was $29, and I stopped my Etsy sign up right there. But after thinking about it, it is a one-time lifetime fee. I think Etsy is going to be long-term worth it. Reselling is going relatively well. And I can see the arc where I can start to more consistently be making a couple $100s a month. So I think I will make back, hopefully, that startup fee relatively quickly. But in making this decision, I did read through eBay and Etsy fees, and I will say, generally, I still don't love the Etsy fee structure. One thing I don't like is, I don't know, like I think you have to have your detailed policies. They don't make it easy to figure out what the fees are. You have the listing fee, but then there's also a transaction fee, which you expect. That sounds like, oh, 6.5% compared to a lot of eBay fees. That sounds great for your total item amount. But then there's a payment processing fee. So now we're up to automatically about 10% per item. Still not bad, but here's what gets me. One, it took a little bit of math to get there, right? Why they can't combine it or have a cute chart, I don't know. Additional fees, they have an offsite ads program. So go search like New Orleans art print modern. So I don't know, something like that. And you are likely to get Google sponsored listings very likely that one of those is going to be an ad for Etsy. Say that you were selling that piece of New Orleans art, someone clicks on it and makes a purchase, you are automatically enrolled in that program and you're going to pay Etsy another 15%. So that really ups us very quickly from 10% to 25%. And what I don't like about that is it's out of your control, right? On eBay, you have the option to do promoted listings within the platform where you're, and I actually don't know if that covers some off-platform advertising. I should look into that, but you get to decide. Etsy, it's just my read is if they promote your item on Google, someone clicks, you automatically owe them 15%. It makes it tricky to do pricing and figure things out because owing Etsy 10% of your sale versus 25% of your sale can be the difference between making a profit on that item and not. So I don't love that. If you make less than $10,000 in a year, 365-day period on Etsy, you can opt out of that program. But as you hear me talk about this, you're probably zoning out a little. It's a lot of detail to go through and figure out, and I just don't love the fee system, and I particularly don't like that it feels complicated, and maybe that's just me. But anyway, this is an overview. I did use Google AI, which I kind of hate to do, to get the summary. But I also cross-referenced and looked at the actual policy. So as I go into Etsy, I need to put some more thought into whether I want to opt out of offsite, but that seems like a good way to get traffic, so I feel circular. But basically, my rough estimate is anything I list there, Etsy's going to take 25% of. And that's how I estimate fees is roughly. I don't want to spend 20 minutes on every item estimating fees. If it's a super high ticket item, I might, but it's a lot of time. So roughly, and I'd rather estimate 25% and it's only 10. So comparatively, and I won't go too much into this because I'm focused on Etsy today, but eBay to me, there are options to pay more for different things, but it just feels easier to understand and read, or maybe I like that in their terms they have some little charts that help break things down. Yeah, and maybe part of me just really likes that I can list on there for free until a sale occurs. So they similarly, their final value fee sounds higher, where most categories are at least 13% versus Etsy's 6%. But remembering that Etsy also has that Etsy payment fee of 3%, this just feels cleaner and easier. And then a flat, I guess it's not an insertion fee because you're not paying for the posting, but another nominal under $1 flat fee. If you're a volume seller, listing more than 250 items per month, there's additional fees. But if you're doing this as a side hustle, you're probably not in that zone. If you're doing it as a full-time business, you can probably look into an eBay store and a different way around that. So again, and on eBay, you get to select like the percentage of additional fees you want. So it feels more in my control. On eBay, my my rough estimate when I'm figuring out about how much I'm going to pay eBay, I factor in about 20%. And again, that's rough, right? Obviously. Well, I don't need to say obviously. It's just a rough estimate. So moving on, I know I just talked a lot of stuff about Etsy, but I do think that it could be a valuable place to cross-list. And these are the few of the main reasons that I'm going to give cross-listing on there a go, or a chance, as some may say, for at least through the end of the year, is I do have a feminine eye. I like a glass, like a cut glass crystal or crystal, different things, bowl, or I just do have a more feminine eye, so I pick feminine type items, and I think I have a better sense of what women like in home design than men, and that, is probably in large part for my gender. So because Etsy skews more female, I think that's one reason is I think some of the items that I'm picking may do well or even better there. Anecdotal success of others from watching YouTube, and then also talking to my mom who's been doing some Etsy listing. She does predominantly jewelry, and then like vintage homeware stuff, which can range from like, a decorative seashell to a butter dish to what else on there? Can't think of another example right off the top of my head, but that type of thing. Oh, like teacups and saucers. And she's done well, and she's cross-listed some items on eBay and Etsy and done better on Etsy. So that definitely made me think about it given some of the items I have. Another is as I've been doing reselling, I find I'm a lot more drawn to um, home goods and collectible items, vintage items like that, than clothing. Obviously, you can't sell if you don't know that clothing on Etsy, but I just don't think I like selling clothing that much. On one hand, it's easy. You just put it in a mailer, seal it up, done. But I just don't get as excited to go sift through clothing. So, because looking forward, I think I'll continue to focus more on decorative and home goods and vintage items. I think Etsy is good for that. Has to be vintage though, which is important to keep in mind. And then it's an experiment. Say I take 10 items over there over the next 4 months, I'm probably not investing more than, I can't do the fast math there, but we'll say like $50 max between, and most of that is going to be the $30 starting fee. Um, so trying things out. And then the final one that I will revisit at some point is I've sold two of my photography pieces on eBay now, and it's getting me thinking about whether I want to give selling my photography a chance again, and Etsy would be a good platform that. So that's a hard maybe right now, but those are some of the reasons that I'm giving it a go. And why not? Again, the relative investment is fairly low. We're entering busy season, so it does seem like if I'm going to do it, now's the time. So we're going to do it. Some of the items that I may cross post on Etsy. So I'm going to pull up my eBay and just randomly pick a few of the items that I'm planning to cross post on Etsy. Okay, so I'm looking at my eBay items that I'm selling right now. And what I have up are but just two pieces that happen to be in order that I think are well suited for Etsy. One is two pieces of signed smaller pottery from the Laguna Pueblo. Couldn't quite make out the initials. They're more modern, which makes them, they're not crazy expensive, but they also are visually appealing because the paint is bright and sharp and that type of thing. I think they look cool. It's a geometric type design, one you can clearly tell has an agave plant. And I'm selling these as a set. I think Etsy is a place that there might be some interested buyers. Another is my own art. It's a photograph of a red door with pink surrounding building in Havana, Cuba. I think this may do well on Etsy because one, when I was selling photography on Etsy, Cuban photography seemed to do well. Two, it's feminine. It's pink and red. It's cute. And then there's a gold frame to it. And Etsy, it is people, this is handmade's the wrong word, but hand taken, printed by someone else. It's unique individual art. It's not the same thing that you see everywhere. So I'm scrolling through some stuff. Next thing that comes up is Roseville pottery. This is a piece of pottery that if you've listened to me before, I say has the cool factor. It's just a nice looking piece. It is it is not like desert Southwest, but it has that tone of like a dirt's the wrong word, like khaki or like desert color. And then it has little clemana flowers on it. It just is a very visually appealing piece. It's not huge or teeny tiny, so it's a nice piece of decor that I think people may be attracted to if they collect Roseville pottery, which there are people that do. It's not the most rare, but it's a nice piece and it's not the most common either. And then, or that like me, we're just visually drawn to this. This is one that I have on display in my own home and have no problem if it doesn't sell fast. But I think on putting on Etsy is this is well suited for that. The next thing that I have is like a ruffled bowl that is iridescent orange. I like this. It's unique. It could be, some people might kill me for this, but like a key drop place for to like throw very small odds and ends, or it could be a showcase piece. The way it looks in light is really cool. It's iridescent. So that's one. The next item, as I'm just scrolling through eBay, is a striped bikini. I will not be selling that on Etsy because you're not allowed to, and also it's not the market for it. And then scrolling up, different direction, but in my items that I'm selling, for an example of one that another one I won't cross list are, I have a set of two vintage style Miller and Miller High Life pint glasses. That would be cool for like a man or woman cave, but I don't think Etsy is the market for them, and they also are not technically vintage. They're vintage style. So I'm a rules person. I play by the rules. Scrolling down, Japanese print, like poster print, nah, I don't think it's worth the insertion fee. I don't think there's enough of a market for it on Etsy. It's a print. There's lots of similar ones, I think. A maybe is I have a vintage Collier's fishing magazine. I think it's very cool. It's from 1947. Even to me as a non-fisher person, it's like there's mountains in the background. It looks dated. This I would consider on Etsy. Prefer it probably if it was around holidays or Father's Day because it'd be a cool, unique gift. Definitely vintage. And I know a lot of buyers on Etsy are looking for those cool, unique gifts, myself included. Scrolling through a book, no. Another Japanese poster, no. Last one I'll point out, I have on eBay two pieces of art from a known artist, Paul de la Fille, that are New Orleans art. They're nicely framed as a set. I have them as a set. I mean, the frames and matting match, so they would look very nice next to each other. And whoever owned them probably had them next to each other originally. But they haven't sold on eBay in about 4 months. So I'm considering cross-list. I will very likely cross-list these on Etsy. They are nice pieces. They're lithographs, so it's not just like a run-of-the-mill print. It's a nice form of print. They're New Orleans. There are some other prints by the same artist signed that are out there, so it's not like the only two, but I believe he is deceased, so probably not making more. And they're just, if you like New Orleans, it's two cool pieces of art. What I have not decided, both for eBay and for Etsy, are whether to combine the two prints and sell as a set. Easier for me, easier for shipping. But I do think the Antoine's restaurant's there's one that's of Antoine's restaurant and one's just of a courtyard. I think Antoine's restaurant has more appeal, same size, but just because of known location. And you can even see that a bit. It's priced higher, but still getting more views. So that is just some of my thought process as I decide what to bring over to Etsy. I am planning to hopefully do 10 in one shot when I first get the store up, and then probably get to 20, 25 items over the next few months and see what happens. I'll reassess after the holidays, but I'm giving it a go. And of course, I will keep you updated on here on how it's going. Until next time.